Dandelion? Dandelion.
Roar.
Hajime!
The Shawn vlog number 3.
I can't express how thankful I am for all you guys. I've gotten some of the most kind and heartwarming emails from
These depression vlogs, I guess, or the Shawn Francis vlogs.
From parents, kids, people who have friends who might be suffering from depression. They want to know what to do, or people who have helped, or something I said helped them. That's kind of the goal of these. I'm happy to help, and it means more to me than any other vlog I've ever made, these things, because I feel like I'm actually making a difference in people's lives. So
Thank you. Let's get on with the vlog.
no more sappy stuff. Here's a fun fact!
Research says that the best way to learn is to try and teach what you're trying to learn right now.
So that means anytime you take a test, or you're studying for a test, you should try and teach the content to your parents or your best friends, and they'll probably be pissed off because they don't care about
Sex ed.
Such 13-year-old trying to teach your dad about condoms. That's kind of weird, but it'll help you learn about condoms faster. Just saying.
I've been learning, I've been reading this really cool book, and I want to share some knowledge bombs with you. So here we go. So this guy who wrote this book called The Chemistry of Joy, Henry Emmons, is a smart dude.
Henry Emmons, smart dude.
I like him because he doesn't just, regurgitate knowledge. He actually wants to know why things work. He went and studied Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy. He practiced medicine, psychology.
He took the whole round of things and then found similarities and created a whole better outlook on things.
He found that out of all the different sections of psychology, let's just split it into Eastern and Western, they all found that there was 3 different types of depression.
Which is kind of cool. They all just had different names.
For example, like the Western called it anxious depression, where the Eastern called it air types. Western called the second type agitated depression. The Eastern called it fire types. The Western called the third one sluggish depression, and the Eastern called it earth types. So I'll kind of explain what they all mean and the ideas behind them.
So just so this vlog doesn't get too long and I'm just regurgitating knowledge, I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. So if you have more questions you want to ask me, contact me.
So people with anxious depression usually feel fearful, inadequate, nervous, they're always worried about the future, that they never measure up to life's demands, that they're never good enough. The second one is agitated depression. So agitated depression is those people who feel angry, resentful, bitter, despairing. They're often super judgmental of people, demanding. They're highly critical in relationships with a tendency to push anyone away who doesn't meet their high standards.
Agitated depression, or the fire type if you like the Eastern philosophy of things.
And then there's the sluggish depression. These people tend to slow down, they sleep a ton. They have trouble concentrating, motivating themselves to work. They often become confused, absent, or even perhaps, they have trouble with relationships. And keep in mind, you can have more than one of these at a time, and sometimes they usually switch from one as things change. So let's kind of talk about why these things happen. So if we're talking about just levels of chemicals in your brain and things kind of happening like that, serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine.
I'm really bad at saying that word.
So if we're talking about serotonin, serotonin's that soothing chemical. It makes you feel good. It kind of calms you down a little bit. You feel nice and relaxed and awesome. But the dopamine really kind of gets you jacked up, when you're ready to go, and it kind of makes you feel alive. So if we're talking about the types of depression, we have anxious depression, agitated, and sluggish. So if you have anxious depression, you have low levels of serotonin, the feel-good chemical, which that makes a lot of sense. If you have agitated depression, since it kind of gets you jacked up, you have higher levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, because that stimulates us, gets you stimulated, And then if you become sluggish, usually that happens if you don't have inadequate levels of the dopamine, like the feel good, you just don't have enough of them, so you start to just kind of feel low and not awake. And that all makes a lot of sense based on, serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine.
And how do you change all these things? What can you do to fix them?
These can all higher and lower dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Diet, supplements, medication, exercise. And they say exercise is actually the best drug.
If you could put exercise in a pill, that's what they would give people most of the time. Especially this guy in this book. He says exercise is the best thing you can do. You can get kind of jacked up and feel really good, and then when you're done, you have that really good feeling because it releases serotonin into your body. Amazing, right? Yeah, science!
And then the last one is changing the way you think or your perceptions on things. We kind of talked about that in the last vlog a little bit. So that can happen through therapy. Those therapy skills. Kind of neat, right?
So Shawn, do you practice what you preach?
Yes, I do actually. It's kind of amazing how when I look back after I'm reading this book to see what I've kind of gone through. It seemed like I was that fire type, kind of that agitated depression for a while. You only have a certain amount of dopamine, all these chemicals in your body, and everyone's jugs are different sizes. So it seemed like I was running on that for a long time, and it was getting lower and lower and lower.
Because I tend to put a lot on my plate just because I do that. I like to get stuff done and do a lot of stuff.
So when those got really low, then my dopamine levels were low, and it moved into the sluggish depression.
And all these things can, produce suicidal thoughts and things like that. The sluggish depression's a big one.
So my dopamine and norepinephrine levels were really low. I went into that sluggish one. I didn't want to train. I couldn't train. I was unmotivated. I didn't want to do anything anymore.
That's just how it goes. So how do I change those things? That's kind of the trick.
Luckily for me, I found a good doctor.
There's a lot of kind of doctors out there who just like to throw medication at people.
But this doctor, I don't know if she read me really well or she does this with all her patients, but she looked at me and was just kind of like,
alright, I'm going to tell you exactly why we're doing this, because I think you understand what I'm saying.
She's like,
I don't like to just up the serotonin. I like to kind of tackle all three of those chemical imbalances at once, and then try and get them to a level where you're stable, and then, we'll go from there.
I wanted to do supplementation after that, so we kind of made a plan.
1, get your chemicals balanced through medication.
She's like, you're already working out and training and eating, right? So we can't really change those things right now, so we got to do medication.
Number 2, when those things are ready, we move to supplementation.
Along with number 1, I forgot to add therapy in there. With all this, we're doing therapy because therapy seems to help me out a lot.
And number 3, be awesome. Just stay awesome.
Because, when all these things are great, you're pretty awesome. I guess they say I'm pretty awesome, I'm not doing it, but I don't feel very awesome. So maybe step 3 should be feel awesome? Yeah, that makes sense. So right now we're at a combination between 1 and 2. I feel like the chemicals are kind of starting to get back to normal. And now I'm starting to switch to some supplementation type stuff. And you just never know how it's going to work because you can't test where your dopamine and serotonin levels are, which sucks. And that's what makes this really hard. That's why people give up on it, because they take all these pills and they don't feel better, and then they're like,
they're not working.
It's like, well, maybe just that pill's not working. You gotta try something else, or maybe you gotta try this supplement, or maybe supplements don't work and you just need to exercise more, or eat right, because that can change it too. Or maybe you just need therapy. All these different things can have it, and there's tons of ways of different combinations, and you just kind of have to find what works for you.
Oh, I just said a lot.
And that makes it really hard. But that's how it goes. And that's why this is never very fun.
Shawn, you talk about therapy a lot. What do you do in therapy? I don't think I would like therapy. It just doesn't look good in any of those movies, and movies make me think therapy sucks. I don't want to do therapy.
I kind of look at therapy as as detective work. Like the therapist is there trying to find clues as to why you're thinking a little goofy. The therapist kind of investigates your thoughts, your feelings, your goals, your beliefs, and finds clashes in there. A belief or a thought or two thoughts that clash with each other. And I like to call them mental knots. And then the idea through there is to work through those mental knots and have a clear understanding of what's going on. You take the tangled knot and you start to lengthen it out again. I hope that makes sense. And you find that a lot of the times, a lot of the knots or clues, if we're using the detective analogy, are kind of right under your nose, and you just don't see them there because you're so close or you're living it all the time. It starts to feel, or it seems normal or correct, or I don't like those words. Let's go, it seems effective when it's really ineffective. There we go. That's a better way of saying it. They pull a magnifying glass and they're like,
hey, what about this?
And you're like,
holy crap, I can't believe I've been doing that for a while.
And then that knot gets untangled and you start to feel better.
But then you find other knots. that's how it goes.
So I've been having a lot of knots lately, and the things I've been talking about with my therapist, because I'm not going to hide anything from you guys,
I don't know what to do when I'm done pole vaulting, and I don't know if I even still want to pole vault.
I think I used to pick all these things in my life based on...
I wanted more information or knowledge on it.
And because I'm naturally curious. And then 2, I think just by having depression so long, I started picking sports and things that kept me in the flight or fight mode. Because every time I was in flight or fight, you have to just react to the environment or situation. You didn't have time to think about it. And every time I seem to think too much, it gets me into trouble. So, I think that's why I liked, mountain biking.
Because you can't think. If there's a turn or a rock or something, you just do it. You react.
Snowboarding was the same way. Skydiving was like that too. And pole vault was like that for a long time. But now it seems like I can just plant the pole and I can tell you what goes wrong before I even land back in the mats. I still like pole vault, it's just not at the level it used to be as exciting for me, if that makes any sense. I don't know if you're following. So that's why I think base jumping seems so awesome to me.
Because you're just there. You're 100% in control of what you're doing, or you give up 100% of control to whatever's going to happen, and you just go, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you just...
react. And that seems so freeing to me. But my therapist hates the idea, Carrie hates the idea, my parents hate the idea, because base jumpers tend to die. I guess I've always had the idea I'd rather live, you know, live fast, die fun kind of thing. I don't want to, you know, spend the last 15 years of my life when I'm 90 or something, sick and dying. That never appealed to me. We've been trying to find other ways for me to stay in flight or fight that aren't less dangerous, I guess, even though I still want to do the base jump thing. And the only thing we've been able to come up was like stand-up comedy or improv, which improv sounds kind of fun. Stand-up comedy does too. I don't know if I'm that funny, but maybe? I just think it'd be easier to jump off stuff. So, if you guys have any ideas for me, let me know, because that's been a big talk the last 3 weeks, so... Alright, back to Depression Vlog. So we touched on some really cool things. We kept it really short because I know this vlog is getting really long again. Just like any doctor that looks at your physical health, you need one that looks at your mental health too, because mental health is just as important, if not more important, since your brain kind of controls the rest of your body. I mean, I've read this really cool book called The Biology of Belief, and he talks about that your thoughts affect your cellular biology, and he's a cellular biologist. I can't say that word.
Cellular biologist. Cellular. I gotta say it slow. Cellular biologist. Cellular biologist. Cellular biologist.
I'm at the point where it's like, maybe I should go to school to be a psychologist, but then I realized I don't like school. It was just, grad school is a nightmare, and I don't want to just sign up for another nightmare if I don't know what I want to do for my life.
That's another problem. What am I going to do when I'm done base jumping? Or pole vaulting, I mean. So, go get help. It's not so bad.
So the stigma of mental health needs to go away. It is okay to ask for help. And it's okay to, you know, to share with people that you have a problem. It's been really scary for me to do it because of that stigma, and I think it's getting better over the years. After my last vlog, the Shawn Francis vlog, I got an email from someone who was telling me about his girlfriend who
did a Tumblr project for her Girl Scout Gold Award
called Stop Stigma. So if you go over to stop-stigma.tumblr.com,
she created this really, really cool Tumblr page trying to stomp out the stigma of mental health. We're going in the right direction again, and I love the next generations. Everyone's ripping on kids nowadays, but man, you guys are smart. You're doing things different, and I really like it, and keep doing it, because that's what we need. There's a cool movement, and you guys are starting it, so that's awesome.
Alright, before this gets any longer, I better go. So as always, you guys can contact me anytime if you need anything, absolutely anything. I want to be that open door for you, or a person to call if you have no one else to turn to.
I might be able to have some advice for you. I can't say it'll be the best. I can't say it'll help you, because I just never know, but I definitely can point you in a direction where you can get some help. Or maybe I am the person who can say a couple words to help you out. So,
stay awesome, and keep embracing the chaos. I'll see you guys next time. Pole vault vlog next week. Alright, bye. Cognitive behavioral therapy. And the idea behind cognitive behavioral therapy is that it's a hands-on approach to changing the way you're thinking or your behavior. You have thoughts, feelings, and actions, and they all affect each other. So if you can change one of them, like your thoughts or your feelings or your actions, it can affect the other two and potentially make you feel better.
Or if you feel really bad, at least bring you back up to homeostasis.
So I'll say that one more time. Let's use this graph as an example.
Roar.